The King's illness is a reality check for the firm. It means there's added impetus to ensure Prince William is match fit for a possible call-up to the top job.
For years, the royal family has carefully guarded its image, keeping internal conflicts hidden behind palace walls. But when Prince William reportedly took a dramatic stand involving Queen Camilla's grandson, whispers of a deeper power struggle began spreading fast. What made the situation even more shocking was the alleged quiet support of Princess Anne, a royal known for her loyalty and discretion. So, was this simply a family disagreement, or the beginning of a much bigger shift within the monarchy? The story unfolding behind the scenes is more surprising than anyone expected. But why would William take such drastic action on Camilla's grandson? Let's know your thoughts in the comments below. To help us create more videos and uncover the latest royal drama, please subscribe. William's calculated step toward leadership. Prince William made a quiet decision that quickly became one of the most talked about stories surrounding the royal family. There were no dramatic announcements, no heated arguments, and no cameras waiting outside to capture the moment. Instead, everything happened behind closed doors, far away from the public eye, in the calm surroundings of Windsor. According to the story, William arranged a private meeting attended by only 3 people: himself, Queen Camilla, and her grandson, Freddie Parker Bowles. The atmosphere was said to be serious but controlled. Every word reportedly carried weight because everyone in the room understood that an important decision had already been made. What followed was far more significant than a simple warning or temporary separation. Freddie was allegedly told that his connection to royal life had come to an end. The reported decision meant no future invitations to private royal gatherings, no participation in family events, and no place within the close circle surrounding the monarchy. If true, it was presented as a permanent break rather than a short period of distance. The report suggests that William did not reach this conclusion in haste. Instead, he is said to have spent months quietly watching events unfold, gathering information, and carefully weighing every detail before deciding what should happen. Rather than allowing emotions to guide him, he reportedly relied on patience, careful judgment, and a clear sense of responsibility. Those close to the situation claim that once he believed he had all the facts, he moved forward without hesitation. That is what has made this story so fascinating to many royal watchers. It was not described as an emotional confrontation or a moment of personal revenge. Instead, it has been portrayed as a carefully planned decision designed to protect the institution of the monarchy and reinforce the standards William expects from those connected to it. The private meeting has also fueled wider conversations about what life inside the royal family may truly be like when the cameras are gone and the official ceremonies are over. While public appearances often present an image of unity and tradition, stories like this suggest that difficult conversations and tough choices can happen quietly behind palace walls, away from public view. Whether every reported detail is accurate remains open to question, as many claims about private royal meetings cannot be independently verified. Even so, the story has sparked intense debate because it paints a picture of a future king who prefers careful planning over public drama. Supporters see it as evidence of firm leadership and discipline, while critics question the reports themselves. Either way, the alleged incident has added to the growing image of Prince William as a leader determined to shape the monarchy according to his own principles and vision for its future. William's silence suddenly made far more sense, yet one hidden move changed everything. Who uncovered the final betrayal? Who quietly took decisive action, and why did insiders claim the real story was still being hidden from everyone watching the royal family until this moment? Let's find out. The morning Camilla discovered her limits. It was a sunny afternoon at Windsor Castle, the home that has stood as a symbol of British royalty for centuries. But this wasn't a formal royal event with grand speeches and glamorous outfits. Instead, it was a rare family gathering, meant to be relaxed and carefree. For the first time in ages, the royal family had the chance to spend time together without the pressure of public eyes or stiff ceremonies. The scene was set in the castle's beautiful gardens, where the sunlight filtered through the trees, casting soft shadows on the lush green lawns. The air was filled with the sound of birds chirping and the distant laughter of children playing. It seemed like the perfect escape, a moment to be just a family. The gardens were filled with picnic blankets, soft drinks, and the occasional burst of laughter. There were no tiaras or formal uniforms, just simple joys. At the heart of the gathering were Prince William, Kate, and their children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. The young royals were full of energy, running and playing near the flower beds. George, as always, was full of confidence, leading the games with the quiet authority of an older sibling. Louis, the youngest, was the most mischievous, darting around and causing a little trouble here and there, his bright smile showing his excitement. But it was Charlotte, the second oldest, who seemed to be the center of attention. Known for her charm and quick wit, she radiated a calm confidence as she interacted with her brothers and the other children. Kate, ever the doting mother, moved around the group, making sure her children were safe and happy. She was relaxed and at ease without the usual formalities of royal events. No reporters, no crowds, just a mom watching her kids play. Her eyes occasionally shifted to Prince William, who was standing nearby, talking with his father, King Charles. He glanced over to make sure everything was fine, then returned to his conversation, allowing his children to enjoy their freedom. Alongside the Cambridge family was Camilla, the Queen Consort, who had brought her granddaughters, Lola Parker Bowles and Eliza Lopez. Though not officially royal, Camilla's grandchildren had started making appearances at more royal events in recent years. The family was slowly becoming more integrated into royal life, attending high-profile events like the coronation, and this informal gathering was no exception. Lola and Eliza, though they didn't have the royal blood, were learning the ways of the family, showing up for these quieter occasions and gaining their share of attention. Everything seemed perfect. A peaceful day in the royal gardens, free of the usual palace politics. But little did anyone know that this day would soon be remembered for something far less serene. The calm atmosphere was about to shatter, setting the stage for a royal conflict no one saw coming. Royal Guard Forces. Camilla's grandson to open hidden wardrobe. Early 2026, a cold hush settled over a quiet, wealthy corner of West London. Behind tall, aging trees stood a private residence tied to Queen Camilla. But this time the focus wasn't on her sister, it was on her grandson, a young man who had kept his distance from public life, preferring privacy over palace attention. That privacy, however, was about to be disrupted unexpectedly. Just hours before dawn, the calm was interrupted, not by chaos, but by protocol. A routine royal security inspection had been scheduled, one of many quiet checks to ensure properties connected to the royal circle remained secure. Still, the presence of royal protection officers, along with a specialized tactical unit, gave the moment unusual weight. They arrived without noise, their movements precise and controlled. Gravel crunched under boots, radios murmured, and a quiet tension settled over the estate. This wasn't about a reported crime or visible threat. On paper, it was standard procedure, an internal sweep, a precaution in light of heightened security awareness around the royal family. Every room was to be checked, every access point reviewed. Nothing was to be overlooked. Yet something about the atmosphere felt different, as though the house itself held its breath. Inside, the team moved methodically, scanning each space with trained eyes. Leading them was a seasoned protection chief, a man hardened by years of experience, someone who trusted instinct as much as protocol. Floor by floor, room by room, everything appeared in order, until they reached the upper level. There, something unusual stood out. A polished walnut-paneled wall, smooth and elegant, yet somehow too perfect, untouched. It didn't match the subtle signs of use seen throughout the rest of the home. The officer stepped closer, raising his flashlight. That's when he noticed it. Fine scratch marks near the edge. Fresh, precise, not decorative, not accidental. Someone had tried to open it. "There are signs here," he said quietly, his voice enough to halt the team mid-motion. "Check it." But before anyone could act, a voice broke through the stillness. "Stop!" At the far end of the hallway stood Camilla's grandson. His expression was tense, far more than the situation seemed to justify. His eyes were fixed on the cabinet, his posture rigid, as if guarding something unseen. "You can't open that," he said quickly, stepping forward. "That's private. You have no right." The protection chief turned slowly, studying him. This wasn't simple discomfort. It was something deeper, fear, sharp and unmistakable. "This is a routine inspection," the officer replied calmly but firmly. "Every section must be cleared. No exceptions." The young man shook his head, his composure slipping. He moved to stand in front of the cabinet, his voice rising despite himself. "There's nothing in there that concerns you. You're going too far." But the intensity of his reaction only raised more questions. A silent signal was given. Two officers stepped forward and gently but firmly guided him aside. He resisted at first, but the outcome was inevitable. His breathing grew uneven as the team approached the cabinet. The air shifted, heavy, expectant. Then came the sound. A sharp crack as the lock gave way. The cabinet doors opened slowly. Flashlight beams pierced the darkness inside, and instantly, everything changed. Silence. Complete and absolute. Inside were rows of antique boxes, each one carefully arranged. Not ordinary items, these were crafted with precision, rich in detail, unmistakably royal. As the lids were lifted, light exploded into color. Diamonds flashing, rubies glowing deep red, sapphires shining with a cold blue fire. Each piece carried markings, royal markings, authentic, recognizable. The officer's expression hardened as realization set in. These weren't just valuables. They were documented, cataloged, declared missing. Every single item matched artifacts long believed lost, records tied to a devastating fire that had once swept through a royal storage vault, erasing pieces of history that were never recovered. Until now, hidden, preserved, inside a private wardrobe. The young man stood frozen, his face drained of color, his eyes locked on the open cabinet. He said nothing, could say nothing, because in that moment, silence revealed more than words ever could. The protection chief slowly turned, his thoughts already moving ahead. This was no longer a routine check. This was something else entirely, something buried deep within the royal circle. And now, there was only one person who needed to know: King Charles III. Because once the report reached him, everything could change. Would he expose the truth? The confession that detonated the palace. The spark that ignited this royal scandal was a voice, old, heavy with regret, and edged with long-held resentment. On a quiet evening in his cozy Wiltshire home, Andrew Parker Bowles, Camilla's former husband, decided it was finally time to free his heavy heart. He settled into his old leather armchair, its seams worn by years of reflection, and held a small recorder in his trembling hand. At first, he simply planned to share a few personal stories for his children, a way to help them understand the complicated web of their family's history. But what began as a gentle trip down memory lane soon transformed into a revelation so shocking it could shake the royal household to its core. His rough, steady voice didn't merely suggest that Camilla had once been unfaithful. A detail alone, powerful enough to ignite endless media firestorms. Instead, he peeled back layers no one had dared touch before, exposing secrets that had long been buried beneath polished royal smiles. What he revealed in that dimly lit room was far more than anyone expected. His confession wasn't just gossip, it was the kind of explosive truth that could rewrite the royal narrative forever. Andrew claimed that Camilla had not only fallen in love with another man, but had quietly built a hidden empire over the decades. This was no simple affair of the heart. It was a deliberate, calculated scheme. With the careful precision of someone who had replayed these moments over and over in his mind, he described how she constructed a maze of secret trusts, offshore companies, and shadowy charities. These weren't acts of generosity. They were clever tools to funnel wealth into the hands of her closest allies and secure her influence far beyond what the public ever imagined. He painted a picture of a woman whose gentle laugh and kind eyes masked an extraordinary ambition. A woman who learned to twist every rule to her advantage. She wasn't simply trying to keep her love alive. She was weaving a web of power so intricate that even seasoned courtiers failed to see it tightening around them. Then came the words that would echo through the halls of Buckingham Palace like a funeral bell. "The kingdom?" Andrew whispered into the recorder, his voice rough with exhaustion. "Rests on a delusion." Those 6 words shattered the fragile calm that the royal family had fought for years to maintain. By some twist of fate, or perhaps by design, the recording did not stay locked away with family keepsakes. Within hours, it slipped into the hands of a journalist, hungry for the story of the decade. Suddenly, the audio was everywhere. News websites blared the revelations in all-caps headlines. Podcasters and social media influencers picked apart every sentence, speculating which companies were real and which names were code for even deeper secrets. Encrypted chat groups traded transcripts like forbidden treasure. At dawn, chaos gripped the palace. Sleep-deprived aides dashed between offices, arms loaded with files. Some tried to shred incriminating papers. Others frantically called lawyers, hoping to issue last-minute gag orders. But it was too late. The recording had already gone viral, its reach unstoppable. What Andrew meant as a private testimony had become a wrecking ball, smashing through decades of carefully constructed royal image. And as the sun rose, the world woke to a monarchy laid bare, its darkest secrets exposed for all to see. It is an obvious fact that there must be more to the story than what appears on the periphery. Let's travel briefly into the past. William drew palace battle lines. As preparations continued for Princess Anne's event at Windsor Castle, attention quietly shifted away from the ceremony itself and toward a growing mystery surrounding the guest list. What was meant to be a carefully controlled royal occasion began to develop an undercurrent of uncertainty few outside the inner circle could fully understand. Behind polished planning, subtle disruptions were forming, suggesting something more complex beneath the surface. Staff responsible for security and protocol reported last-minute adjustments that created confusion across departments. What first seemed routine soon appeared far more serious. Names linked to Queen Camilla's social circle were being reviewed again, even after invitations had already been approved and distributed. The quiet rechecks unsettled staff who expected finality in such procedures. Whispers inside the palace suggested that these changes were not procedural, but part of a deeper reassessment underway behind closed doors. At the center of the growing tension was Prince William. Palace insiders noticed his unusual personal interest in planning for Anne's event. His involvement was not formally announced, but was felt through quiet administrative shifts affecting preparation. Reports circulating among staff said William requested access to updated guest records and held discussions with senior aides before proceedings began. This raised questions because royal ceremonies are normally managed through strict protocol rather than direct family intervention. Some described the atmosphere as tense, as if decisions were being reviewed at a higher level than usual within the formal hierarchy of royal administration and oversight without clear explanation to junior staff members present there. The concern centered on influential figures linked to Camilla's expanding social network. In recent months, members of the royal household had grown uneasy about how frequently certain donors, advisors, and high-profile contacts appeared near key royal functions. Critics believed these individuals were gaining visibility during a period when King Charles III had reduced public activity due to ongoing health struggles. Supporters of Camilla rejected these claims and viewed criticism as attempts to isolate her from influence within the palace. The disagreement remained largely unspoken publicly, yet inside the institution it shaped conversations more than was openly admitted among senior members involved in planning discussions quietly. For William, the situation carried deeper institutional implications. Some insiders believed he feared Anne's carefully organized event could be overshadowed by private interests and political optics linked to Camilla's allies. Anne is widely seen as disciplined and traditional, and reports suggested she wanted precision and restraint. This aligned with William's vision for a controlled monarchy. Observers noted even small adjustments reflected a broader effort to preserve formality of the occasion under increasing scrutiny across internal advisory circles and household governance teams within Windsor operations, without public acknowledgement or comment issued. As revised guest lists quietly circulated behind closed doors, security teams received updated instructions. Lieutenant Colonel Johnny Thompson oversaw parts of the process with calm authority, reinforcing suspicions that the operation had support from powerful figures inside the palace structure. His presence was not unusual, but the timing drew attention among those familiar with royal operations. Guests linked to Camilla's circle discovered that access restrictions were deliberate. Some were denied entry entirely, while others were removed from seating arrangements before arriving at Windsor. The silence surrounding these changes deepened the sense of internal uncertainty across the institution as events approached. Prince William's involvement raises deeper questions about what was really happening behind palace doors. Who was powerful enough to force a private review of Anne's guest list? And why were figures tied to Camilla suddenly seen as a threat? And what comes after this decision? Keep watching. The royal alarm. The message was sent without hesitation, no second thoughts, marked urgent, racing straight to the palace. "Inform His Majesty immediately," the officer said, his voice taut with controlled tension. "We have discovered something that should not exist." Within the hour, the call reached King Charles III. He was seated in his private study at Buckingham Palace, a room usually defined by calm order and quiet routine. A soft golden lamp spread gentle light across the desk, but the moment the phone rang, that calm dissolved. As the report reached him, his grip tightened around the receiver until his knuckles turned white. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then his voice came, low, deliberate, carrying weight that could not be hidden. "Repeat that." The message did not change. Royal jewelry, long assumed lost. Officially recorded as destroyed, now found hidden inside a private wardrobe. But this time the revelation came with a name that shocked even the most seasoned courtiers. Not a distant relative, not a forgotten servant. Camilla's grandson. A tiny crack had just formed in the polished image of the royal family. And from it, something dangerous began to surface. Charles slowly lowered the phone, mind racing. Outside, a light rain tapped against the tall windows. Inside, the palace felt stifling, thick with unspoken questions. He knew this story too well. 2022, the fire that consumed the royal storage vault with terrifying speed. Blamed on outdated wiring, failed systems, and cameras that went dark. Hundreds of priceless items vanished, reduced, it was assumed, to ash. Among them, the most valuable collection of royal jewelry, pieces tied to history, to legacy, to the crown itself. And now, those same pieces had reappeared, untouched, unscathed, perfect, as if they had never faced fire. Charles exhaled, disbelief shaking him. "Impossible," he murmured. "This cannot be coincidence." Minutes later, a private meeting was convened. No announcements, only essential staff. In the room sat a senior investigator, a trusted security advisor, and a royal legal expert. The door closed. Silence fell. "This matter does not leave this room," Charles said firmly. "No press, no speculation, not until we understand exactly what we are dealing with." His gaze sharpened. "I will not allow the monarchy to be shaken without certainty. But I want the truth, no matter where it leads." Files were spread out, records opened, names, dates, access logs. The grandson's connection raised immediate alarms. He had no official role, no reason to be near restricted collections, yet the items were linked directly to him. "How?" Charles asked quietly. No answer came. No one could explain. The investigator leaned forward. "Your Majesty, the condition of the items suggests they were never inside the vault during the fire." Everything shifted. Charles's expression darkened. "Then they were removed before the fire began," he said slowly. Silence again. One conclusion was clear. This was no accident. Planned. Carefully. Over time. Charles began pacing. The weight of the realization settled heavy. Trust, the monarchy's cornerstone, was now under question. If the items had been removed in advance, someone had known. Someone had access. Someone had acted. And now the actions pointed too close to home. Camilla. He stopped, not at an answer, but at a possibility he feared. "Continue," he ordered. "Reopen the entire fire investigation. Every detail, reviewed again." His eyes flicked to the files. Access records, financial trails, movements over the past decade. Everyone connected to the vault, no exceptions. After a pause, his voice dropped lower. "And I want to know if there is any link, any at all, to the Queen." The weight of the statement lingered. This was no longer just about stolen items. This was about something deeper, something hidden, something that could shake everything. As the meeting ended, Charles remained, staring through rain-streaked windows. Outside, the courtyard blurred beneath the storm, but inside, his thoughts sharpened like never before. If the past had been carefully rewritten, what else was buried in silence? And who else had been in on it? This was no longer just a discovery. It was the first ripple of a far deeper, more dangerous secret. But who sparked the first crack in this royal cover-up? Stay with us, the prince who refused to look away. Many years had passed before Prince William finally received the thick final audit report that would either confirm or disprove Andrew's explosive claims. As he flipped through the pages, his hands began to tremble. Each figure was more shocking than the last. Page after page revealed a staggering truth. Millions of pounds had been quietly transferred every single year from the royal treasury straight into the pockets of Camilla's extended family. It wasn't technically illegal. No laws had been broken. But to William, it felt completely indefensible. How could this have been allowed to go on, hidden in plain sight, for decades? The discovery sparked a fierce storm inside the palace walls. Advisors gathered in tense meetings, voices rising until they bounced off the gilded ceilings. Some counselors urged caution. They warned that cutting off the funds would look like a personal attack on Camilla's family, a move that might shatter what little unity remained in the royal household. The tabloids, they said, would seize the story and twist it into proof of William's bitterness. Others felt just as strongly in the opposite direction. If he failed to act, they argued, he would be accepting decades of quiet corruption. He would be showing the public that nothing had really changed, that the crown still protected its own, no matter what. The debate raged for days. The tension was so thick it pressed on everyone's chest. William hardly ate or slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the numbers, felt the weight of generations watching him, waiting to see if he would prove worthy of the crown or crumble under it. One evening, while angry crowds gathered beyond the palace gates and the world's media waited for a statement, Catherine found him in the dim hallway. Though she herself was weakened by illness, she reached for his hand. Her voice was soft but steady as she spoke the words that would finally cut through the noise in his mind. "Do nothing in anger," she whispered, looking straight into his eyes. "But do not do nothing." Those words struck something deep inside him, a memory of his mother, Diana, and her belief in standing up for what was right, no matter how painful. Later that night, long after midnight, William slipped into his late mother's study. The room smelled faintly of old books and roses. He set the audit dossier on the heavy wooden desk beneath Diana's portrait. Her kind eyes seemed to follow him as he paced back and forth. All around him, the faces of former monarchs stared down from their frames. Some looked stern, some seemed almost sad. With a deep, weary sigh, William finally stopped pacing the room. The weight of his decision pressed heavily on his chest. There was no going back now. Slowly, he lowered himself into the chair, picked up the pen, and stared at the official document on the table. For a moment, his hand trembled in hesitation. His mind raced with memories and consequences. But then, with firm resolve and one decisive stroke, he signed his name. It was done. From that moment on, all financial support to Camilla's family would be cut off completely, and without warning. A silent storm had just begun. The revelation opened up scars that the royal family has tried to forget. It brought back memories of the Camillagate that shook the monarchy more than 3 decades ago. Let's dive briefly into the details of Camillagate. William Shape's New Royal Order. In the aftermath of the Windsor event involving Princess Anne's gathering, the atmosphere inside the royal household continued to shift in ways that could not be ignored. What began as quiet guest removals linked to Queen Camilla's circle was now being viewed as part of a wider transformation inside the monarchy. Within palace circles, discussions reportedly turned toward how authority was being redistributed between senior figures, especially as King Charles III continued to manage health challenges that limited his direct involvement. Prince William's role began to appear more central, with aides noticing a stronger level of coordination around his decisions regarding ceremonial planning and internal oversight. Following the earlier removal of guests associated with Camilla's wider social network, some insiders interpreted the move as a signal that access to royal events was becoming more tightly controlled. Others, however, believed the situation reflected concern about protecting Princess Anne's event from becoming overshadowed by competing influences within the palace environment. As attention grew, Princess Anne's influence appeared to strengthen quietly, with her preference for discipline and tradition aligning closely with William's increasingly structured approach. At the same time, Queen Camilla's social network reportedly began to lose momentum as uncertainty spread among allies who once relied on stable access to royal functions. Palace staff, caught between competing centers of influence, reportedly became more cautious, aware that even routine decisions could now carry political weight. The Windsor event itself gradually came to be seen not just as a ceremonial occasion, but as a turning point in how the monarchy managed internal authority. Reports suggested that the quiet coordination between William and Anne reflected a shared vision of restoring order and reinforcing institutional discipline across royal operations. Meanwhile, King Charles III remained in a difficult position, balancing the need for unity with growing pressures from both traditionalists and reform-minded advisors. Some insiders believed William's growing authority marked the beginning of a quieter transition that had not yet been formally acknowledged by the institution itself. The changes were not announced publicly, but they were felt in every adjustment of protocol, every revised guest list, and every shift in decision-making responsibility. Observers noted that what began as a single disputed event was now evolving into a broader restructuring of influence within the royal household. This development suggested that the monarchy was moving toward a leaner and more controlled structure, shaped by stricter oversight and clearer lines of authority. To many within the palace, the most striking change was not any single decision, but the growing sense that a new order was quietly forming. The events surrounding Anne's gathering therefore came to represent something larger than protocol, hinting at a shift in how future royal authority might be defined. Ultimately, the quiet removals and the reactions that followed suggested a turning point in the monarchy's direction, where Prince William's approach to leadership appeared increasingly decisive, while uncertainty still lingered over how far these changes would reshape royal balance moving forward. So, what do you think? Was William protecting royal tradition, or quietly asserting control over Camilla's influence ahead of Anne's event? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates.